Hello, testing, 1, 2. Okay, it works. All right. So, my name is Gary Ripper. I'm not sure if I need to get too close to this. So, my name is Gary Ripper. I'm the founder of Ripper Blades, and also my wife and I do BYO Lightsabers. And my whole panel right here is mainly going to be talking to you about the lightsaber community, lightsabers, and what you can do with your lightsaber once you get one. Talk a little bit about building lightsabers and just kind of like go along my journey, really, more than anything else, about how my experiences with lightsabers and what I think that you can do that can benefit you when you have a lightsaber. Now, I can say I started doing this maybe about 2009, and maybe 2010, I'm thinking more or less. And my first saber community introduction was I bought me a Master Replica lightsaber. It was a Luke Skywalker Return of the Jedi, and I lost my mind. It was the first lightsaber from my age where you had a light that can go all the way up. Now today, those are called Black Series lightsabers that you see and you buy at Disneyland. Back then, it was by a company called Master Replica that was in a company in Walnut Creek, California, which is only a few miles from where I used to live. So I was very privileged to live close to that company. And so after I got addicted to having that lightsaber, I wound up getting two more. I got a Darth Vader and I got me a Mace Windu. Now, for a year I had my lightsabers, I had a good time with them, and then I decided to fight with one of them. And then so with that discovery, I realized you can't fight with the Master Replica lightsabers because they have a black spot will pop up in your lightsaber, and they're made out of acrylic, the blades. I learned all kind of stuff. So I thought, with a broken heart, what do I do with this, $100 lightsaber that no longer works anymore? So I went online and tried to figure out a way if I can get it repaired some kind of way. I went online, and then I found this world, the lightsaber community, where I went to a forum called FX Saber Forums. And the guy who runs that forum is actually the guy that started the construction for the Master Replica lightsabers. He lives in Sacramento, and it was his design that he sold to Master Replica that we currently use today in Disney. So Disney basically uses technology that was started in 2010. So they have old technology as far as the community goes. And so over time, Master Yoda, Michael, he started making baselit lightsabers. This is what we've been using since about, 2011 on up till today. We still use these. And these are lightsabers that are light in the base. They call them baselit lightsabers. It's most common thing they had for the past, 15 years or so. And those are like, they have a light that just comes out to the bottom, and a lot of people like to call them high power flashlights or all these different type of things. Some people take offense to that. Oh, this is a lightsaber, it's not a flashlight. Stop saying that, you know what I mean? But the point is that you get a blade that's lit up now, and you can fight with this blade. It's a hollow blade. And then so when I went to that website and I found out that I can convert my Master Replica into this fightable lightsaber, I jumped at the chance. And so at the time, and this is where I think it gets interesting. At that very time in my life, I thought I was not mechanically inclined. There were a lot of can'ts that I had in my head. Now, this is partially what my whole thing why I do a seminar, is to get those can'ts out of your head. Because a lot of can'ts keep you from doing what you want to do. And I'm glad I had my daughter with me because she had no idea that she was a cosplayer or had the ability to build and make things herself. So if you take away that can't out of your head, you discover yourself a lot more. Like I like to use the analogy, are you a good race car driver? Are you a good race car driver? And they're like, no. Like, well, how do you know? I mean, have you really raced a car before? And no. So how would you know? You know what I mean? So if you never put a saber together, never built a saber before, how would you know if you're good at it? And a lot of people I know, they want to bring some of the best, and they've never done it before. So I always tell you, if you see a saber that you want to build, find a way, Sometimes I made sabers because I couldn't afford them. And so for me to have a saber, I had to build it. And so when I looked at this forum, I kind of realized that I can do this because I'm dyslexic. And so they had diagrams I could follow rather than sheets that I had to learn math and learn about ohms and all these things. But then with the visuals, I was able to figure it out. So where there's a will, there's always a way. And so with that, I was able to fix my lightsaber. But then while I was on the forums, I seen people building their own lightsabers. And that's where I wanted to be. And I found out that the parts that I had for my lightsaber, I can take it apart and go to this other company called the Custom Saber Shop. And I can buy parts from there, and I can build my own saber. So I started down that rabbit hole. And I was in a household to where, like, I can't really afford to be buying myself lightsabers. So if I wanted a better lightsaber, I had to sell the one I had to get more money to make a better one. And so slowly that became my journey becoming into the lightsaber community. And so I met people like Plector, who's the sound guy who makes all the sound fonts for most sabers in the beginning. He has a company called, what's this company? It's called Plector Labs. And so he made a lot of sound fonts. They have people who built sound fonts and everything for you. And so I went in there and I discovered through the forums all the people that made stuff. And I still couldn't afford any sabers, so I had to make my own. So I started making PVC pipe lightsabers. And I would wire them as if they were like the higher end sabers. And so you were able to buy a $2,000 lightsaber for $300-400. And then so that's how I got my my start in all this. And then I did have a heart attack at one point in my life. And so I had to leave the sabers aside for a while. And when I came back, the community kind of changed a little bit. They had people who were adding chassis into the sabers. There were people who were doing acid etching on the sabers and all kind of different things. And so when I came back and started making my PVC sabers, my goal was to make them look real. So I made sabers look like they were metal sabers, but you can get them for $300. You know what I mean? So that's how I got started. And then I started making blades. And so the blades I started making, I wanted to make with a dark saber. This is one of my early dark saber blades I did. And when I made this, I worked at a place called Tap Plastics in California. It's a plastics company. And what I would do is I would take the scrap pieces they would throw away, and I would try to shape them the way I wanted to. And I used the machines they had at the shop to bevel the edges, and I thought I had me a dark saber. And so when I posted this on the forums, they told me, they said, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. They said, but it's not black. It's not a dark saber. There's no way you can make a dark saber. You can't make a black blade, blah, blah, blah. And I thought to myself, this is a forum of people who play with lightsabers. They don't make real lightsabers either. It's an illusion. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna make a dark saber. So what I did was, I just had it up here somewhere. I have a dark saber. I make katanas. Oh, here it is right here. I started making them, so I made ones like this. This was one of the few finishing products. I have a lot of things in between this, but this is what I came up with later down the road. And so this was actual dark saber. And then so my name got more popular, and I abandoned Ripper sabers and started Ripper blades. And so Ripper blades became my main bread and butter since then. So it became my life. It became the way I actually supported myself. So I was very lucky and fortunate and blessed to be an artist and get in the saber community. Now, with that, I was lucky enough and blessed enough to be able to be introduced to what I consider the elites of the community at the time. I got to meet and speak with Tim from Cousin Saber Shop. I got to hang out with Nova Star. I got to meet and hang out and be friends with the guys who are in charge of the fighting groups in my area. It was called Golden Gate Knights, and Alan Block was the guy who was in charge at the time. Today, Alan Block is one of the top fighters for TSL, which is a fighting group. And then the fighting groups came in, I would say, a few years down the road, okay? And then the saber community had a tight niche community. It didn't have a lot of us out there, because like if you wanted a lightsaber, you either had to build it or someone, had to have someone build it for you. And so these people are who I became friends with and met. Now, without going into details and talking about every little thing, down the road, there were more things that came up for you with your lightsabers. Now they had fighting groups. Before, we just had choreography groups only. And there weren't too many people who were trying to spin and do flow either at the time. So the fighting groups became a real good outlet for you to fight with and have your saber and do stuff with your saber. And so the group was called TSL, the Saber Legion. They're still around today. And just before COVID, they got big enough to go on to ESPN. They were on ESPN Quattro. They got to interview all the fighters and everything else. So it was really starting to build up. Then COVID happened, and kind of brought things down, but now it's starting to build back up again. So if you get a lightsaber, you can do full contact fighting groups. And there are many of them out there, but TSL is one of the more popular ones. The two most popular fighting groups that are around are the Saber Legion and Lightspeed. Lightspeed is a completely different animal than TSL. TSL is more like UFC fighting, where you have a lot of different disciplines coming together, fighting in the same ring, and then sometimes you have, it's like getting free martial arts training. You'll learn fencing from one master, and you might learn broadsword, you might learn Turkish fighting, all from different people, and over time, you're learning martial art that you didn't even know that you learned. Alan Block is a very good example of this because he learned from every little person he could, and he became the champion. And what's different about this type of thing is that you don't use your saber like a blade. It's a 360-degree saber. So an actual fighting style for lightsabers has been developed over the past 5 to 7 years. So if you go to TSL, you're actually learning how to fight with a lightsaber. You're learning a new martial art, legitimately. And same thing with Lightspeed. They have more like a fencing setup where it's more of a lateral back and forth setting. They use smaller and thinner blades, and it's more like fencing. And they have less armor on them, and they have different rules. So Lightspeed they're trying to get into the Olympics. So the Olympics is looking at us, and they want to have lightsabers in there, but more countries have to get behind it. As far as I know, France, Australia isn't behind it. I would think that we are. So we need to get more countries behind it for it to be in there. And so when you get a lightsaber, you can join fighting groups. You can join choreography groups like the one after the Sabers Guild. They have more than just Sabers Guild. They have local ones. You know, just look on your Facebook or like just Google search different lightsaber groups, and then find one close to your area. It's sometimes even worth driving an extra 30 minutes because the friendships that you will get are really worth it. I do cons and I meet customers and other people who own booths and stuff, and you meet these people and they're just like you. You know what I mean? So every weekend you can meet new people and then have a nice brotherhood camaraderie going on. Only thing I would say that there is a need that needs to be filled when it comes to Saber community is having a group for kids. They need to have more of a group for kids more because some people have special groups, like they might have martial art classes that have lightsaber groups for their kids on certain nights, but there isn't really a group that kids can go to fight with their lightsabers and then learn how to do things, learn how to do the Obi-Wan and all that kind of stuff, which I think would be very good because lightsabers are a gateway to, I would say, self-confidence. And the reason why I say that, I've done this for a long time, and there's maybe one of 3 things that people will do if you give them a lightsaber. If they're introverts, you give them a lightsaber, they come out. You know, people who are too cool, they got to make a pose. You know, but they're too cool. Or they will try to stay away from it because they don't want to lose their cool. They want to stay cool. Nah, I don't want to touch it. Nah, that's cool. I'm good. I don't want. I'm like, here, want to hold it? Nah, I'm cool. Because if they hold it, the child in them are going to come out instantly, and they're too cool for that. You know what I mean? So I always recommend a lightsaber for anybody if you know you want to get them outside. You want to get them to have friends. If you want to get them to get exercise. I've seen people in fight groups lose weight. I've seen them get self-confidence. I've seen them just learning a skill will amp up your next level of who you are. You know what I mean? And it's anybody and everybody can do it. I have when I used to teach classes, I used to tell people pick your favorite music, put it in your earbuds, and then just flow. And it doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be anything. It's just supposed to be an emotional connection from your body and your hands, getting the mind-body connection, and you can really kind of like, it's kind of like meditating. Because you have your favorite music on, and you're doing something that you really love. You know, it doesn't matter if there's any neighbors or anything like that, because the earphones will block them out. You know, block them out with your earphones, be one with your lightsaber, and have fun with yourself. You know what I mean? That's if you can't find groups. And you find a group, that's even better. You know, you can find a group out there, they're out there all over the place. And I think it's very much worth it. And so, now, getting a lightsaber. If you want to get a lightsaber, you can get one from like a company like us. The companies like we have, they all have the same lightsabers from one of 3 companies, YDD, There's TXQ, and there's what's LG's new name again?
Nexus.
Nexus. Now, YDD was the main company, and then Nexus splintered off from there, and then YDD splintered off from Nexus. So they all had the exact same kind of like sort of same technology. They all came from each other. So they're called the China Sabers, a lot of people call them. They're the ones you see like on Alibaba, they're the ones we have here at the show. And then between the older community and the new community, the older community looks down on these sometimes because they look at them as cheap China Sabers, or because they spent $6,000 on their saber, it only has one light and one sound, and it doesn't even have good smooth swing. And how dare you sell this $100 lightsaber with smooth swing, multiple sounds, flash on clash, all that stuff. If I want to flash on clash on a saber back in the day, that's an extra cost. That's an extra board you're putting into your saber. So, and that's also a different kind of LED. So that was a big hassle back in the day. But now I don't even have to hit the button. You know, and the sounds are better than they've ever been. And so that's another reason why people don't like them, because it's kind of a jealousy in a lot of sense. I was one of them. I was an elitist. My wife was like, you got to stop being like that, blah, blah, blah. And then so because my wife is the businesswoman and I'm the fan, you know, she was like, get that out your head. She goes, check them out. And then every complaint I had, we told the company and they fixed it. Oh, the sound on this is crappy. Next order, they got bass speakers. Oh, these are a little too fat. Next order, they're thinner. So the difference between this company and like companies like Ultra Sabers, not talking bad about them because that's a lot of people's first sabers, but the community has been saying things to that company for a long time, and they stay rigid to where they want their stuff to be because they want to have the new people come in and they don't care. But this company cared about everything that was said by their customers, and so anything that you didn't like, they changed it. And it made them to the #1 company in I would think in the world, because the reason why you see people with lightsabers in the last 3-4 years is because of companies like this. And now people have TikToks, people have flows, people have TikToks now, and that's their job. You know what I mean? And it's all because of companies like this that people don't like. So you can get them from here, or you can go to the forums and you can look at how to build one. There's FX forums, there's Ultra Sabers has their forums, there are just all kind of lightsaber help out there to build your own. Or you can have them build it for you, which will cost you a lot, but through description and everything else, you get a true custom saber. Because they have sabers out there that you can play video games on the side of your lightsaber. So you can have that done for you as well. But when you do that, you make sure you talk to whoever you're talking to and tell them what you want your sabers used for. If you're going to be using it for fighting in the choreography, then let them know that, and if they should be able to give you a build that's safe for you to use. Because you don't want to have a lightsaber that you spend all this money on and you can't use it for the purpose that you want to use it for. So treat your lightsaber purchases, no matter what they are, like you're getting a tattoo. You want to have what you want, the way you want it, and where you get it from should be trustworthy. It doesn't have to be from our company, but it has to be from a company that you really trust, that you don't mind going back to ask questions, to ask for help, and for any other inquiries that you know that you can get done, to the point where you can stand on your own and you answer all the questions yourself the way you want to. And that's how I got it. Like my daughter, she wasn't really into it as much. She seen me with it all the time and everything. We did shows and stuff. But then she wanted to look great for her cosplay and everything else. But like me, you know, she didn't want to buy the stuff they had on there. She wanted a certain look, and to have somebody else build that would cost her a certain amount. So what did she do? She pulled out her mother's, was it grandma's?
No, I bought a sewing machine for $20, a mini sewing machine for $20 off Amazon.
And she started.
This was the first thing I ever made on that baby sewing machine.
So she went and did what she had to do. So she made, and now she costumes. That's what she does. I mean, like, she costumes really well. You know what I mean? So I encourage you to try no matter what, because all you're going to do, no one does anything right the first time ever. And if you do, you're very fortunate. And then the second time, if you fail, just keep going. I'm telling you from experience, no matter what you do, the first time is not going to always be the best time. So don't let that judge the journey that you're going to be going forward on. You know what I mean? It's worth the sacrifices for the personal gain that you will get, what you discover you will find as an artist. Think about building a lightsaber, and when you're done, and you do this at the end. It's so satisfying. You know what I mean? Especially if you spend a lot of time putting it together. And if you go, even if you go to a booth that you build your own saber, that last little is very satisfying. That's why they do it in Disney. They have a whole experience for you to put it in there, and then when the lightsaber comes on, you get goosebumps because wow, I built a lightsaber. You know what I mean? Now imagine being able to do that and being a real life Earth Jedi for the most part, because you fight with your lightsaber, you have your own custom lightsaber that's yours. You carry around. I live in Arizona. People open carry all the time. I sometimes have my saber on my hip and trip people out. They're like, what is that? I'm like, it's a lightsaber. You're like, you know? And one of the funnest stories I have is me and my wife and a friend of ours were talking about lightsabers in between a car before we were going to a restaurant. Well, someone called the police on us because we spent too much time in between the cars. So police comes up, flashed their lights on us, and made us put our hands up, back up behind the car. So here we are walking with the back it up. And my friend had his lightsaber on his hip. And so she's like, do you have any weapons on you? And he's like this, light flashing right on him. I have a lightsaber. And she says, what? He goes, a lightsaber on my hip right here. And then she goes, wait a minute. And then, the light gets smaller and smaller because she's getting closer because she got the car. And she goes, let me see that. And then, he's like, can I grab it? And she's like, yeah. And he picked it up. And she was like, this is the lightsaber. It was one of our custom ones that we made. And so she's like, yeah. And then so, long story short, next thing you know, they had a few cops come in, and us and the cops are talking about nothing but lightsabers. I went to my trunk, pulled out my Ripper blades, started showing them Ripper blades, and we're all talking about Star Wars and geeking out. And then we go into the restaurant. I think we're at like Denny's or something. We go into the restaurant, and I come out because I forgot something in the car. About 10, 20 minutes later, they're still up there talking about Star Wars. So there's a lot of I'll never get nervous around police because of lightsabers. I mean, there's a human connection with the light. You know what I mean? So I encourage anybody and everybody, if you want somebody to stop drinking, go outside, get off the video games, do something physical, do something with some sports, lose some weight, get some muscles, do anything you want to do. Lightsabers is a great doorway. It's a great doorway to get people alive. I mean, I've had a heart attack. I've had two of them, actually. You know what I mean? I'm 51 years old, and the shape that I'm in is mainly because of martial arts and lightsabers. Because I spin my lightsaber all the time. That gives me a lot of wrist strength action. Doing these shows, I'm lifting boxers all the time. So lightsabers has actually kept me in shape. I've seen guys lose a lot of weight. There's a friend of mine named Charlie Cummings. He's the owner of Saber Legion. And it's funny because his armor has a belly on it, but he doesn't have a belly no more. So he takes his armor off and there's a little guy underneath there. But before, it was all matching. It was like a mold. You know what I mean? But not anymore. I mean, he's been doing these lightsabers for like 5 or 7 years now. So, yeah, going to meets every weekend, and then once a year, doing the meets with the guys and everything. Yeah, you're doing an activity. You're doing a sport every weekend. It's a sport. It's not just lightsabers. Lightsabers is a sport now. So, I mean, if any kind of agency is looking for it, I think it's very worth you going out, getting a lightsaber, and then having fun with it. Like I said, it doesn't have to be from us, but I do recommend that you do get a lightsaber no matter where it's from and use it, because you'll have nothing but rewards behind it. Oh, we might get sore wrists, but after a while, you get some strength behind that. The reason why I have Popeye-looking wrists is because of lightsabers. You know what I mean? And then they have a TS. This is a lightsaber from the Custom Saber Shop. This is one of my earlier lightsabers I've made. It has just a battery in the bottom, and it doesn't want to connect unless I hit the button. And so these right here are what you can make on your own really easily. I had to drill my own holes here, but the saber is just a battery pack. I have 2 wires coming from the battery pack. One wire is connected to this button, and it goes to the light. And that's how I did to build it. It's 2 wires broken up with that here, and they have hot and red. It has plus and minus on there. So just one color, and that's how they make my earlier lightsabers. And they don't make no flashing like that, but they're very solid. They make them polycarbonate like anything else. This is my staff lightsaber. I do like to do a lot of spinning with my staff, and so I put these two together, and I have my staff saber. You know, and these are what you can make on your own from the Custom Saber Shop. They're very satisfying to make. They're not as elaborate and everything else, but you can make them elaborate depending on your skill that you want to gain. If you go to the over by our booth, there's a group over there called the Saber, not the Saber Legion, the Saber Guild. They have a lot of TCSS saber builds over there because they use their sabers a lot. They fight with their sabers a lot, and so they build them themselves a lot. And so you'll find things like the Custom Saber Shop, and all the blades they use are baselit, and the baselit sabers are hollow. So this is how most of their saber blades are hollow. And a NeoPixel lightsaber will be different because they have a strip in it like this. This is a NeoPixel strip that's inside the NeoPixel blades. So these are strips that light your blade up like this. This is a NeoPixel lightsaber.
Power on.
And it scrolls up. That was loud. I was like, oh, that's like bass. So because it has this scrolling effect, you do things like have lockup, blaster block, and all that kind of stuff that you couldn't have when out back in the day. This right here was a dream. And if I seen this, I would automatically assume that it is $500,000 because with one sound, one light, and everything, it was like $1,000. So yeah, this is $500,000 easily. And that was just ridiculous. And then be able to still fight with the saber is ridiculous. So it was something that doesn't happen too often in our world. But when these came out, it changed the game. The NeoPixels changed everything because now these are brighter sabers, but it also, we thought we couldn't fight with them. And we actually could down the line. This kind here is a single board. It's a flexible board with LEDs on this side and LEDs on this side. Traditionally, when they cost about $200 for a NeoPixel, they'll have two individual LED strips that they marry together, and they'll put it inside there. And they would kind of, they would move around a little bit too much, even if you put some film inside there. These right here are on a single board, and this is even the older one. The newer ones don't even have this wire on it. They're totally just one solid piece, and it's a beautiful setup. And because of that, when I did my company, I started to make things like the flat blade ones, where you have the LEDs inside. And I started making I made the very first NeoPixel flat blade. And so this is another thing that changed the community because this allowed you to make the dark saber. And since I made the first dark saber, I said I had to make the first NeoPixel dark saber, which is what I did. And so when I made this, I made a post of it, and then that's another thing that changed in the saber community. Now we can make flat blades with NeoPixels, and so a lot of other companies want to jump on that as well, and some of them did, but the difference is that I've been doing this for over 10 years, and at the time I was still a lot more ahead of them, and I still do sabers and stuff, but I don't make them as much. I mostly do custom for a personal circuit. One man can't do a production line. These guys started doing things, they have machines do it for them, and they're able to do the production line. So I decided to sit back. I'm not going to do production stuff. I'm going to go back to doing the artistic things that I do. And so I started doing things like this. This is a piece of acrylic, and this is the beginning of a ripper blade. These all come from a 4-foot by 8-foot sheet of acrylic, and we cut these pieces out. At one time, I cut them out myself on a bandsaw. Thank God we got a CNC machine, because I would do the pattern on paper. My wife, with her beautiful little cute self, she would get on the bandsaw and cut it out. And then I'll go in there and cut out more details, and then I get the router, and then we have a nice solid flat piece like this. And a saber like this will be birthed into something like this. So these are the same design that I could add, but I sculpt this all the way down to be this way. Now, I say this to say that I didn't know, I was an artist. I wanted to do comic books as a kid. I didn't know I can sculpt. Another example of not knowing what you can do until you try it for the first time. So I've learned that I can sculpt because of these things. So I can sculpt a dragon head. I've made horse heads. I've done all kind of stuff because people want different kind of pommels. So when you have an idea or anything you want to do, you may think it may be too much work or this is out of the way or I can't do it. Just ignore that little self-talk that you may have in your head. Just ignore it. It's not important. They're not saying anything that's going to benefit you anyway. Just, you know what I mean? Because had I listened to those little itty-bitty little things that I told myself I couldn't do, I wouldn't be able to do these type of things. This is made by somebody who's not mechanically inclined. This is somebody that I can't sculpt. I draw. I don't sculpt. So these are the things that if you get rid of the can'ts in your head, these are the cans that you can do. So I do these seminars partially to run my mouth, and secondly, so that I can tell people about having self-confidence and doing things. Because I have a lot of like kids. A lot of us geeks have ADHD, dyslexia. Some of them are on the spectrum in some kind of manner, and they don't have any kind of outlet or even someone telling them that they can. All they do is tell them that they can't. Now, you can't do this because of that. You can't do this because of that. You can't do this because of this. I'm telling you that all that can't can be a can somewhere. It's that self-talk, because that self-talk was not originally your talk. That came from somewhere. And you can change that yourself by believing in yourself. It's not just self-talk, it's believing your self-talk. I don't say I think I can, I say I can. Well, I'll deal with it when I get to that point if I can't. Why would I say can't now and prevent myself from even getting to that point? When I get to that point and I have that one rock that I can't grab on when I'm climbing up that whatever I'm trying to do, I have to find a different place. You find a place to get yourself done. So all I have to say to everybody here, always try, give it 110%. You can do it, and you're not going to get it right the first time, so don't let that discourage you. And just know that there are other people out there who say they can't, and they're not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere at all. And I grew up with that can't. She doesn't have that can't. I don't tell her none of that stuff. I'm like, you can't do anything. Now, like, have I ever told you you can't do something? Yeah, no. Well, because she can. She can do anything she want to do. You know what I mean? All I know is that everybody in this room has the capacity to do anything that they feel like doing when they feel like doing it. You just got to get rid of that self-talk. And when you get a lightsaber, spin it. Everybody wants to do Obi-Wan. Everybody wants to do Obi-Wan. You can do Obi-Wan. You just haven't tried it hard enough. You haven't tried long enough. I know I haven't tossed a lightsaber behind my back and catch it. The only reason why I know I can't do it is because I haven't tried long enough. I can't do it now, but if I gave a damn and I really tried hard enough, I can do that. Because I can do everything else I try to do. I haven't tried hard enough at doing that. That's the only reason why I can't do it. And that's a guarantee. That's the truth. Because I know that I can do it. I just can't do it yet. So yeah, that's all I'd rather say, because anything else is going to be just showing you demos and stuff. But before I go, just so you know, when you're really looking for a lightsaber, what you want to look for any kind of for safety and whatnot, you want to have a deep socket, and make sure that all the blades that you get will be polycarbonate, because sometimes they have new sellers that are out there nowadays, and they're kind of green, and they don't know a lot of their own products sometimes. So if you want to fight with your saber, make sure just ask them, are these polycarbonate blades? If they say yes, or if they say they don't know, more than likely, if they're not from Disney, more than likely they are. If they have a hollow blade, if they're a NeoPixel with a piece on the bottom, more than likely 10 times out of 10 they're polycarbonate. And polycarbonate is a material that you'll find for riot shields, and now today they have a thicker piece, like almost an 1.5 inches thick, they use for full ballistic fighting, shooting. Polycarbonate can stop at 45, 38? Yeah, 38. I'm not a gun guy. A 38 bullet, you know what I mean? But these are only 1/16 of an inch thick, and the thick walled ones are 1/8 of an inch thick, and they are designed for full contact fighting. But this saber here has a crack in it. And the way you can keep your sabers from cracking, keep your saber out of the sun, keep your saber out of the cold. Polycarbonate has a very weak UV protection on it. Even when it has coating on it, it has like a 10-year kind of setup. Acrylic has like a 30-year, but it's not durable, so you can't fight with anything that's acrylic. But polycarbonate, you want to make sure that it's out of the sun, because when you do fight with it, it can wind up cracking. It will never shatter on you. It'll bend. Polycarbonate is not material that it's going to shatter like glass, but you will crack it to where now you got to get another saber sometimes, So just keep your sabers in a nice room temperature room. Keep them out of the UV light if you can, and then use soap and water to clean any of these sabers. If you use anything like Windex, anything with pneumonia in it, you'll mess up the integrity of the saber. If you ever went to a grocery store and you have that donation pot right next to it, and you see that it'd be little cracks all inside it, that's because whenever they clean it with Windex. And so that Windex, it interferes with the acrylic and it makes the cracks in it when they have more heat. Once the heat gets set off, it'll start cracking. So you want to use soap and water. I use Dawn because it's really good with oil and stuff like that. And another tip I have with lightsabers is, if you see this blade here, see all the light inside the room, all on the blade, sand your blades. Sand them with like 300, 320 grit. Sand them up and down, left and right. Get all that sheen off of them, so it'll be a nice smoky feel to it. Get all that lighting off of it. When you light your lightsaber, it's much more authentic, laserly look to it. It doesn't look like a piece of plastic that's lit up, especially in photos. It looks really great in photos when you have it that way. And for when you're using them, I use hollow blades for full contact battle fighting. I use hollow blades for choreography, and I use hollow blades for spinning. And as for NeoPixels, you can use them for everything, I would say, except for sport fighting. Now you can use them for spinning and stuff too. It's a personal preference.
I like to use the pixels to spin.
She likes to use the pixels because she used to spin with heavier weapons. She used to do we call it honor guard. Color guard, and so they had the heavy guns, and so she's more used to having a heavier thing. And I've only used lightsabers, and I've only had the baselit from the beginning. So when I spin, I like to use a baselit lightsaber because the center of gravity is where I like it to be. So just look up anything you have, look up and research the companies that are out there, and ignore the mean girls, because like you may see something like, oh, look at I got new Ultra Sabers, and they'll be like, Ultra Sabers, what are you doing with that, and blah 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 blah. I'm like, ignore them, and this one person saying, oh, you got Ultra Sabers, what color did you get? Oh yeah, mine is this, and then ignore all that negativity, because there's a lot of it out there. I do it too. I'm not going to be innocent about it. I have geek OCD, and if there's something I love, I get on the phone. Oh no, that's not Superman's cape is really 44 inches, not 42 inches. I mean, we're all like that. Like, oh, why is Batman's ear cowl so small? We get angry about the silliest stuff. I was a kid. I got angry that Luke Skywalker's lightsaber was green. I was like, it's not supposed to be green. The commercial showed it was blue. What is it doing green? I thought it was I went to see it at a drive-in. I thought something was wrong with the drive-in theater projector. I'm like, this is not what we're supposed to be seeing, Dad. So I didn't enjoy it because I was it's a green lightsaber. And it wanted to be my favorite color. That's my Jedi color, is green, because of that, actually. So, but I'm going to wrap it up. And I'm going to tell you guys, you can, never say you can't. Enjoy your lightsabers when you have them, and try to bring as many people in as you can, because we're going to make a lightsaber cult. We're all going to become lightsaber like crazy people. They're going to be like, look at those lightsaber people over there. There's going to be Republicans, Democrats, and those lightsaber people. So enjoy the rest of you guys' con.
Does
and enjoy
anybody have
yourself.
any questions?
Oh yeah, she's smarter than I am. So.
What are some good brands for dueling sabers?
Good brands for dueling sabers. I would actually say for dueling sabers, Ultra Sabers is a good brand. But the low-end sabers, the higher end you get for Ultra Sabers, the more parts they have. So you want to stay on the cheaper end. The cheapest saber they have actually is their best saber, because it's a solid piece. So Ultra Saber is a good one. Our company is a good one. You want to have a baselit lightsaber for that, and you want to have a hollow, maybe get a thick-walled blade for that. Just because you're beginning, you want to have a thick-walled blade so you have some confidence in whatever you're doing. Because some people may not want to do stuff. And also, I would recommend you practice on the grass first, because you'll have subconscious will prevent you from doing a lot of things on the concrete. Yeah. Do I what now? Yes. I mean, well, I do mostly spinning, and then we sponsor a lot of the fight groups. And so when I go to the fight groups, Sometimes I'll fight with them just for fun. I haven't won a match yet. I've won a round before, but I've never won a match yet. These guys are really good. And the guy I lost from was a champion, so I kind of feel good. It's like getting beat up by Mike Tyson, so you're like, yeah, well, it was Mike Tyson. Yeah.
The name of the company is Ripper Blades, right?
Yeah, Ripper Blades is my blade company, and then our lightsaber company is BYO Lightsaber. And BYO Lightsaber. And then we always recommend people, when you ask for kind of lightsaber, we don't just give you a lightsaber. And if you do pick a lightsaber, we like to ask you what you're using it for. That way we have something safe, and that way you have something that you really want to do. And it's fun the whole time. Yeah. Anybody else? No? It's kind of quiet. Where's the cricket at? Where's the cricket? I'm going to get a little cricket button, and I'll start hitting it whenever I hear cricket sounds, and people will trip out of that. They'll laugh then. I'm like, okay, yeah. Okay, you guys. Well, thank you guys for coming out. I really appreciate you guys' time. Yeah. I run my mouth, so I'm gonna get a podcast. This is the only thing I can do.